Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Canadian Women of the Outdoors podcast. We are on lucky number, and I don't care what anybody says about this, lucky number episode 13. It is my favorite number, and backwards it's my goalie number. I was 31 in hockey, so 13 is a lucky number for me. We have a very special guest. We've been chatting back and forth for the last couple weeks now. It's funny, when I had Tara on here, Tara messaged me. She's like, "Oh, you should have this particular person on. You've met her." And then I messaged her and I'm like, "I don't think we've actually met," but it turned out we hadn't met. We've been to some events run by the same people, but not at the same time. So I was like, okay, I'm glad I'm not crazy, because I'm like, I think I would have remembered her, but apparently not. So I'm glad it wasn't only me. So without further ado, we are welcoming Jenn and Gadbois to the
you
stage.
got it.
Okay, yes. I've been so worried about it. I'm like, oh my god, it's gonna come out so terrible, and I'm like, oh gosh, we're gonna try it, but oh well, I'm glad I got it. All right, so we're gonna get right into it. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, like I said, we've been chatting for the past couple weeks. And I'm like, well, this episode, from what we've all been chatting about, I was like, I feel like this episode may run over the hour. So just a heads up, people, this episode will probably run over an hour. So it is what it is. But we've got lots to talk about. So without further ado, we're going to get into it. Some easy, basic questions at first. So where are you from, and kind of like what got you? I've seen your Instagram. For those that don't know, her Instagram is Jenn with 2 N's, DVC, at obviously. You should go check her out on Instagram. Hunts, fishes. So where did that all start? Like, where did you grow up? How did you get into that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So I didn't grow up hunting or fishing or anything like that. I did grow up like in a really small town, rural community, well, outside of a small town, I guess. Super rural. Was always really interested in fishing. I was a super like animal lover, so I was kind of anti-hunting at the time, but then I learned more, and now I'm obviously not anti-hunting.
I was gonna say, not judging by your Instagram.
Yeah, not so much anymore. That kind of died off really quickly. It didn't take long to, read a book. So
were you ever vegetarian at one point?
For like 24 hours. Yeah, that didn't fly too far.
I was gonna say,
yeah, at my house it was like, well, you eat it or you're starved. So like, sorry. Yeah, but didn't grow up doing it. So right after college, I got my hunting license, got my firearm license, got some hunting permission around, did a lot of research, and just started with whitetails, sat out for a few years, didn't shoot anything, but yeah, gained experience and knowledge through just sitting out, watching their behavior, talking to friends, reading books, and it all kind of grew from there.
So, like, how do you go, like, from being, like, an animal lover? Like, what kind of, you were like, I want to try hunting. Like, what kind of got you into that?
Yeah, I've always kind of liked the idea of the self-sufficiency, and once I learned more about what hunting actually was and how there is a lot of ethics and conservation behind it, and like hunters are conservationists, I was like, okay, yeah, hunting's something I like. I mean, I already like being outside all the time. It's in nature. I mean, we're taking care of an entire species when we're hunting that species, and I feel like hunters care and understand that species more than most. So yeah, I think just being outside and being able to provide for myself is what really drove me towards hunting.
And it's funny that you mentioned the non-educated, because the amount of times I've actually explained to people, and people have thought, oh, you hunt, you just step out your back porch and shoot stuff. I was like, you should see the book and the list of rules and regulations we have to follow. We do not just step out our back porches and start shooting at the squirrels or whatever's hanging around in our backyard. Like, the ignorance is, I'm like, okay, if you're going to like come at me about something, at least be knowledgeable about it. Like, you have no idea. Like there's seasons, there's like we have so many rules that we have to follow. Yes, it is completely ethic. Like
Yeah,
it's very sad how many people don't actually know, but they'll be the first one to be the keyboard Karen and start coming at you. And it's like, well, do you really know what you're
actually,
talking about? Yeah. But
that's it. Yeah, and I mean, it's unfortunate because if you get to have a conversation with them face to face, it's totally different outcome. But I find online, you try and like kindly explain, like, "Hey, I'm not just out ramboing deer. Like, I'm hunting. We follow rules and limits and all of this stuff." And they're just like, they don't want to hear it.
no,
They're set in
I'm
their
a,
way.
I'm like, you should see the book. And not like there's also a book for fishing too. It's not just hunting. There's
Oh
another
yeah,
it's we have so many rules and regulations we have to actually follow to conserve like these animals and stuff like that. Like and again, most of us like I'm involved with Ducks Unlimited conservation stuff. So
yeah,
it's not we're not just like again, like you said, Ramboing. I like that. I'm gonna start using that. I'm like, I don't go Rambo deer in my backyard.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
I like that. I'm gonna start using that.
Awesome.
So you said, have you fished for like?
Yeah. So I actually started fishing, I guess, right after college. Also, I kind of started
Oh,
with
you're a
the
late
old.
bloomer, eh?
Oh, very. Yeah. I
And
was always
sorry,
really interested in the fishing. Yeah. Sorry.
how old are you? If you don't mind me
I
asking,
am
you look like you're
third.
25.
Oh wow.
So
Thanks. I'm
I was,
32,
okay,
31.
so oh, so you're younger than me. Okay, you are younger than
Okay.
me. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it started after college, which would be like what, 22, 23
Yeah,
ish.
exactly. It was
So you
like I was
are a pretty
22.
late bloomer, eh?
So I think that's why I
Okay.
kind of dove into it because I'm like, I have so much time to make up.
Yeah, I feel that. But so I've been fishing my whole life, but hunting, I didn't start that till I was like 25, 26. And I was just like head first, like, let's go.
Yeah,
So, okay,
exactly.
you're fishing, you started later, but again, like, how did you get into that? Did you just like, oh, there's a river, I'm going to go put a line in it?
Yep. I went to Canadian Tire and got like one of those, the cheapest rod and reel they have, a little hook, thing of worms from the gas station. I found a little spot under a bridge that I had seen people parking all the time, and I guess there was catfish there. And they were great. So I did the whole, YouTube tutorial thing to learn how to fillet them. And then I was like, okay, I want to try different species. So I started researching what kind of lures and bait and, areas I
I was
could
going to say,
target.
because
Yeah.
I've seen your Instagram now. You're like, you're getting all the nice fish.
Yeah, just love like, yeah, I guess that's kind of what I do if I'm not hunting. Yeah, ice
Well, I
fishing
mean,
and
yeah, usually it's either like hunting season is all fall and then ice fishing, and then you got your turkey, bear, and then summer fishing.
bass.
It's yeah, it's kind of like a whole rigmarole of like, oh, here we go. This is the year. Like nobody knows months. It's like, okay, it's ice fishing season,
I
gearing up for
know.
sportsman show, and then turkey season, bear season, bass fishing over the summer, and then we're into waterfowl season. Like we
It's
as
by seasons
hunters,
and events. Yep.
well, and that's exactly it. We as like hunters and anglers, like we don't know months in the calendar. We're like, okay, like
No.
this is the season it's at now. So
Yeah, the
um
only reason I pay attention to the months is 'cause I'm like, okay, April 25th, like
yeah,
turkey,
well,
I
I
think
mean,
we're good to go.
oh, I already booked off time off work. I'm like, let's go. Let's
Good.
go. Um so back to we're gonna get into fishing a little bit because I've seen you. So um and we will get into hunting later. But for fishing, so what's your favorite species of fish to target? And now that you don't use a worm and a hook, what do you use? Like, do you have like specific bait you use? Like, what's your go
Yeah,
to? And do you fish like, do you have a boat or do you fish at a kayak? Like, give me the
I
rundown.
I don't, have a boat yet. That's something I would love to have in the future. So I do a lot of offshore fishing.
Yeah.
In the summer, I really like to target bass, and I think that top water is fun. So I'll do like the frogs and the poppers.
Yeah.
Mostly, yeah, top water, some soft bait. And then in the wintertime, I like going after pike. They're just so fun
Oh,
to catch.
pike in the winter.
Yeah.
And then you like, so I don't know if you do it. I actually eat pike in the winter.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not the only one.
No, not
Oh,
crazy.
people are like, you eat pike. I'm like, I know how to fillet it properly, which is
Ye-
number one. I know how to fillet it properly. And it was funny. My partner, Caitlin, she's like, I'm not eating pike. I was like, hold your beer. Like, let me just do it properly for you. There's no bones involved. And then she ate it and she's like, oh yeah, like this is really good. I was like, I wouldn't do summer pike. Like
That's it.
I would not eat a summer pike, but like late fall and winter. Oh yeah.
For sure. When the water's
Yep.
cold, absolutely.
Exactly. Cold, and that's exactly it. Cold water pike. Like
Yeah.
cold water pike is 10 times better. And like I wouldn't even bother in the summer. Like,
No,
but
I know.
not a lot of people know that, which is funny because like people are like, oh, pike's so gross. I was like, have you ever actually tasted like a cold water pike? Like that you've got ice
Through the
fishing
ice.
early season, late season, like it's actually really good. Like,
Yeah. And the biggest thing I've heard people say is like, well, I can't fillet it. And then, well, they're really slimy. I'm like, well, they're not slimy, like on the inside.
no, you take a paper towel and you wipe it.
You're
So
good.
which fillet method do you use? Do you get the 5
I do
fillets
the
out of it?
5. Yeah. So I take the
Yeah.
top and then
The
the
top, the
2 from the
sides, and then the
sides.
tail. Yep. So I do
Mhm.
the exact same thing. Like
Nice.
I think it's the nicest method. It's the easiest method.
And it gets so
Um,
much of the meat.
it does. Like, and your fillets, like depending on the size of the pike, obviously, but they're like decent size fillets.
Mhm.
So when you're ice fishing for pike, are you using tip ups or are you jigging? Like, how do you?
So, yeah, I'll do, tip ups with a minnow, and I'll jig, like a spoon sometimes, or, like one of those little buckshot.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yep.
that's my general go-to. I like to switch it up once in a while just to see like, oh, maybe, I'll like this new bait or whatever, but usually yeah, I stick to
I've
the
had
same.
I've had pretty good luck with herring on my tip
Oh,
ups
yeah?
for yeah. Herring's pretty good. I actually had a pike when I was on Cooching. I don't know if you've seen True North baits, they're little mayflies.
Yeah.
I had a pike on that on I was targeting perch, and then I had an ultralight rod, and then all you see is this thing like almost bend in half, and I'm like, that's not
That's not a
perch.
perch.
That's not a perch. No, there was a pike that bit my mini may or my mayfly, and I'm like, oh my god,
That's
like
amazing.
through the
They
ice, and I'm
yeah.
like at one point I just hucked the rod down and then I just grabbed the line and I was like, whatever, I'm not snapping my rod. So I just
Yeah.
grabbed the line and then it broke off because I didn't have a leader because I
I
was
was
like,
gonna
I'm
say,
not.
I bet like perch, you're not gonna have a leader on.
No, we were targeting perch and we had caught so many perch, and like all of a sudden, like, and you know what I'm talking about when it just goes zing and you just see it bend and you're like,
Snaps.
that's not a perch. So I know I almost had it. Like it was up near the hole. I was seeing it, and then it snapped the line, and I was like, oh.
They're so
I,
fun though. They're so aggressive.
through the ice, I find they're more fun.
Yes, for sure.
Through
Yeah,
the
I think
like,
they're just
because
kind of like lazy
they're meh.
logs when you're
Yeah.
yeah.
In the summer, like they're just kind of like, but through the ice, I'm like, oh my god, like that. I was like, am I fighting a bass right now? Like, what is on my rod? Like, what is going on?
Flipping around like that.
Oh, and I'm like, what is happening right now? Okay, so pike through the ice, which totally awesome.
And perch is great too. We have a lot of perch around here. We're right near Lancaster, and I guess the Lancaster perch rolls are supposed to be famous, so ton of perch here. So that's another thing that's really fun to catch through the ice.
And through summer or ice, like, do you keep all your fish, or is there certain species you target that you keep, and then certain species that you are catch and release, or
I
because you do a lot of cooking as well, which we'll get into in
mhm.
a bit. But you do a lot of cooking, and I've seen that. I just actually you posted something that looked delicious, like sausage or
Oh,
something.
I made goose Italian sausage for supper.
Okay, I was gonna say I saw that and I was like, damn, I'm hungry. um, and you're like me that you take everything you harvest and turn it into these delicious meals. So is there particular species slash what time of years that you keep ones? Like, do you eat bass? I know I eat bass early season again, cold water, early season, late season. I will eat bass. And people are like, you eat bass? And I'm like, yeah, like just depends on like a hot summer day in July, I'm not eating it.
Mhm.
But if it's like a late fall, like bass where it's cooler, there's nothing wrong with that.
100%. That's what I was gonna say. Like, there's a recipe I'll use on the smoker, which is great with bass. It's got like white wine and all of that, which I find goes great with a lot of fish.
Well, send me that first of all.
Yeah, for sure, I will. But for the bass, yeah, I'll keep it like if the water's cold, like early season, really late season.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, certain sizes I'll keep. Pike definitely not in the summer. Perch not really in the summer. Most of the stuff I'll just keep from the winter time. Walleye definitely like anytime I would keep that.
Yeah, I keep walleye all year round as well. So what's your favorite fish to catch and eat then, like to use?
Perch, I think.
Perch, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say
Losing my
perch.
mind.
Pike's kind of nice though because of the size in the wintertime because of the size.
Oh yeah.
Crappie's another one. Ugh. Okay, maybe I'm
And
naming
what's
too many.
and are you fish frying that? Like, is that your fish fry, or do you have like a different recipe that's more than because everybody's like, oh, I'm gonna do a fish fry. Like, do you have something?
I do fish fry sometimes, but I like trying a lot of different recipes. So I did like a pike fish cake, which was shredded pike with potato and cheese, and I kind of like fried that up into a patty. That was great.
Well, that sounds
Tried a lot of
delicious.
smoker recipes. Yeah,
What
it was pretty
time?
good.
What smoker do you have? This is gonna be a determining factor
I have
on
a
how
Traeger.
that a girl. Okay, we
Okay.
can be friends now. We can be friends now
I was
officially.
scared to answer.
I mean, I have a Traeger. I have two Traegers actually.
Oh, sweet.
I have a portable one, and then I have my big one that stays at home. So I'm like, oh, I hope, like, because I mean, those are Rolls Royce.
Oh my
Like,
God. Yeah.
you can't beat
Obsessed
them.
with it.
They
Mm.
and I smoke everything. Like even like when we go to like our team parties, like hockey parties or whatever, I got my portable one and I bring it
That would be
everywhere.
so awesome.
It is pretty
Especially for
awesome.
like hunting trips and stuff too.
Yeah, exactly. So, I am actually the camp chef at the Canadian Huntress Hunt this year, and I'm like, I'm packing the smoker, just so you know. It's you guys are getting smoked meat.
That's gonna be a
That's
feast.
oh, you have
I've looked
no
at
idea.
yeah, whenever I saw your podcast with Tara, I was like, creeping you, of course, like people do on social media.
Yep.
And I was looking at all the food you make, and I'm like, holy crap, yeah, this girl cooks too.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, that's I definitely because I mean, realistically, I'm not a trophy hunter in any way, shape, or form.
Mhm.
I do this because I utilize all the meat. I mean, have I caught trophies? Yes. And are some of them on my wall? Absolutely, because I'm like, well, that's never gonna happen again.
And it's
Like
exciting.
when I caught two pike on one tip up and actually managed to pull that through the ice, I was like, well, that's getting mounted on the wall
Oh,
because
you
like
got that mounted?
I did. I did. I'll send you pictures later
Yeah.
because like it was a good it was over 30 inches and over 10 pounds. And I was like, and then I caught
That's
another like a
beautiful.
5 pounder on like so I had a predator rig, so two treble hooks and one pike bit one and then the other pike bit the other. And I managed to pull both of them through the ice at the same
That
time.
is wild.
And I'm like, and like my buddies, my friends that I were with were like, "Oh my god, you need to do something with that." And I
Yeah.
was like, "Absolutely, because that's never gonna happen again in my lifetime."
You need to keep that memory, preserve it.
I was like, that is never gonna happen in my lifetime again.
Yep.
Like that's my story that I'm gonna tell my grandkids, and I'm gonna die on that
Pass it
story.
down.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's get into some hunting a bit. Because
Yeah,
again, so hunting, again, you started later on in life. You said you started with whitetail then, eh?
I did, because
So, was
yeah,
that the first animal you harvested?
it was actually, yeah.
Yeah. What buck or doe?
Doe.
Yeah. Well,
Harvested a
everybody knows
doe.
doe meat is better.
Yeah, it really is. I know. I'll never
Yeah.
complain about getting it.
Oh, no, absolutely. Like if I had a doe or like a buck come in front of me, I would unless it's like a big trophy buck, like
Yeah,
your
something that
once
you
in a
can't pass
lifetime.
up on.
Yeah, I'm like I would rather take the doe. Like
Yeah,
cuz
for
the meat
sure.
is just cuz again, we are those people that like we care more about how we're harvesting it and what we're going to do with it.
How we're gonna utilize.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, for
So
sure.
walk me through the story then. How did it happen? Was it early,
Yeah.
late?
So it was. The reason I started with deer season, like deer hunting, I should say altogether, is because it's like the one hunt you can do alone, kind of. And I mean, I love hunting alone now, even now that I'm more experienced. It's just great. So yeah, I was up there alone. It was late shotgun, but I had my muzzle loader because here we can use shotgun, muzzle loader, or bow.
Where are you? Sorry.
I am near Cornwall, Eastern Ontario.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. So we only have rifle up here. So yeah.
Okay. Do you have bow at all or just
We have bow. Yeah, we
bow and
have
rifle?
bow.
Okay.
Yeah, bow and rifle. We don't have shotgun season. So where I'm originally from Burlington area. Down
Okay.
there was controlled like the shotgun stuff. But
Okay.
now I live up Bruce Peninsula and it's just rifle and bow.
Okay. So we have 2 weeks of shotgun and then a week of muzzle loader. So it was the last week of shotgun where you can also use muzzle loader.
Yep.
Had my muzzle loader, was sitting in the stand. It was like the last sit, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get up and just walk around. So I walk behind the stand, and then there's this big doe standing in the cornfield right behind my stand. So I just, yeah, she was about 20 yards away, shot her, and she went like 20 yards, fell, died there, which is great because it's always nice for them to just
Yep.
pass as quickly as possible. And yeah, I learned about processing them, skinning them, how to kind of package each different type of cut you might want, and researched all of that. And it was so exciting. Like, I just love everything from the sit to the harvest to the butchering process. Like, it's just, yeah, all
So
super fun.
what was the first thing you cooked with her?
The heart. I just
Oh, thank you. Somebody else that likes hearts.
love heart.
Oh my gosh.
I'll pull the hearts from like
Oh,
the goose and everything.
goose hearts, goose heart stir fry right there. Like,
Delicious. It's so tender. Like, it is the
so
best.
good.
It's a muscle.
Yeah, and then
It's
like
meat.
just deer heart steaks. Like you just it's so good. And then
Delicious.
I'm trying to convince Caitlin to eat hearts, and she's like, "Well, I don't know." I was like, "I'm gonna have to like just pretend that
Trick
it's
her.
just yeah, I'm gonna have to trick her." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's a here, honey, it's a steak."
Exactly.
Or just like, "Here, it's a stir fry." Like, because I'm weird. I'm European. I'm Polish. We ate. My grandma used to cook me the most. I've eaten pig's feet for God's sakes.
Mm. That's
So
awesome.
no, when you're growing up and realize what you had to eat as a child, you're just like, mm-mm.
Nightmares.
And well, especially European, right? Like grandma grew up poor in Poland, and all of a sudden she's here, and she's like, "Well, I'm not buying nothing," and you're getting what
Using
you're getting.
everything.
Oh, you're getting what you're getting, and you don't get upset about it.
Yeah.
But I do love hearts, so I appreciate that the first thing that you cooked was a heart. That makes me so happy. Um, you're gonna need to throw some recipes at me for hearts because not everybody like I don't think people actually realize how good like pickled hearts too. Like
Yeah,
you take some goose hearts and pickle them
that
and
would be
then do
so good.
charcuterie with them
Ooh,
instead of like you know how people usually have like pickles for charcuterie.
yeah,
Slice it up thin, little bit of
that's a good idea, that would be so good. I've
right.
had pickled pig's tongue, which I actually really liked, just tasted like pickled pork, so I can,
Yep.
yeah, see pickled goose
Yeah.
heart being a whole game changer.
Yep. Yep. So, so other than deer, do you waterfowl or anything like that? Like,
Yeah, I do a lot of waterfowl hunting. We have a snow goose season here.
I'm
It's
jealous.
it's
I
just
want to.
snow. I'd love to, like, go more, but you need so many decoys. I don't have a huge snow goose setup, and they're,
Yeah.
like, a little bit more difficult to hunt in the spring, but it is nice to have the option here.
Yep.
Um, do a lot of Canada goose hunting, though. Not a lot of duck. We don't have a ton of duck here, so I'd have to kind of travel if I wanna do duck.
Duck is so we have a lot of duck down our area. So it's funny. I will usually, if I want to go goose hunting, I'll come up to like that area. But like ducks, like we have those
You've
big
got
lakes
them.
around. We have the big lakes around us, right? Like I've got Georgian Bay, Huron, and then when I was living in Burlington, like Ontario and Erie, right there. So like,
I
I
wish we
mean,
had more duck here.
Cornwall. I'm trying to remember. Like, have you thought about signing up for one of the Canadian Huntress hunts? Like, because they're out Brockville area.
Are they?
Yeah,
Oh.
and it is duck and goose. Like the last time I did a huntress hunt, we shot a limit of ducks.
Oh, I'm gonna have to look, like, yeah, I didn't actually realize that they did hunt.
So yeah,
Like
sh-
CSS kind of?
it's kind of like CSS, but it's Canadian Huntress. So
Okay.
Canadian Sportsman's Society kind of does around our area stuff
Yeah.
like that. But Canadian Huntress does. It's my friend Dana. She was on episode Don't quote me on this. I don't even remember.
I did listen to
It,
her episode. I binged all
yeah,
your episodes after Tara's, so
yeah. So she was on one of my episodes. I forget what episode, but she's doing a hunt and it's out of that area. I don't know if she has any spots left. I can reach out to her and see. But it is like we got a bunch of divers. Like
that's awesome.
last time I went, we got a limit of buffies,
Oh, that's so okay.
and
I'm gonna have
buffies are
to
good.
because I followed her on, social media for the longest time. I just
Yeah.
didn't realize she did hunts like that, so I'm gonna look into that and sign up for
She
the next
does,
one.
yeah, and so
That would be
if
really cool.
you yeah, so she does a lot of that stuff, and it's in that area because she's out of, she's just outside of Kingston herself.
Okay, so that's not too far from me at all.
No,
That's
and
good.
that's what I'm saying, I'm like, I don't know where Cornwall is, but that's, like, only a few hours, I
Yeah,
think.
I'd be like 2 hours from
Yeah,
Kingston.
I was gonna say, so it's a couple hours, so that's not bad.
Not at all.
And I know you do turkey, and we're gonna get into this later, um, because yeah, we'll get into it later. So we won't talk about turkey too much right now. We're gonna dive into the next topic.
Sounds good.
Um, which this is the Canadian Sporting Arms and Ammunition Association. You work for them. I've never heard of it in my life. I have no idea if anybody has ever heard of it on this podcast. And if you have, kudos to you. Apparently, I don't even know what I'm talking about. I'm just here to facilitate. So, Canadian CSAAA is what you called it?
That's it.
CSAAA. What is it? What does it do? What's your role? Talk to me about it.
All right. So, yeah, don't feel bad for not knowing it. They've been around forever. They've been around since like 1973 is when they were established. It
God,
is the
older than me.
organization, yeah, a little bit before my time. It's the organization that represents businesses in Canada that work in the hunting and firearms sector. So your distributors, manufacturers, dealers, gun stores, outfitters, anybody that works in like hunting and guns.
Okay.
They are basically driven by an elected board of directors, all volunteers. And these are people that, either own gun stores or are manufacturers, distributors, the industry stakeholders in Canada. Like amazing group of people. These are some of the most intelligent and passionate men and women that I know when it comes to guns and hunting and the industry as a whole.
Mhm.
And I am the managing director for that organization.
Managing director.
That is me.
And you're 31 years old?
I am.
Holy hell, woman. That's a big undertaking for you. Here I am. I'm a mechanic and I do podcasts and
That's
I hunt and I
amazing.
fish. Like, and then here you are. Yeah, I'm the director for this association that deals with firearms for all of like so when you say for who sells firearms, you're talking about like Sale, Canadian Tire, like all the small time businesses, and then like again, like the brands that sell directly from their shop. You deal with
Yes.
all of that?
So
And Canada wide.
it is Canada wide, absolutely. But the Sales, Canadian Tires, Bass Pros of the world, since we are also political lobbyists, the big box stores can't associate with us by law, I think. But we are like all the gun stores, like the privately owned gun stores and the dealers for like the names like, Winchester, Mossberg, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
They're our membership base. And yeah, we kind of fight for their best interest with the government because the regulations are just wildly out of control in Canada
Oh.
and
Hmm.
completely destroying their businesses. And then we do a lot of the day to day. So I'll get, calls and emails through a day. Their system that they need to transfer guns to a customer is down. So we're kind of working to rectify that. And yeah, I'm
Jesus.
learning a lot. It's fun.
So how long have you been doing that for?
Only 2 years now.
2 years and you're the managing director. Okay.
So
And
yeah,
you're
they just
2 years, you're the manager director and you're 31. Oh my gosh.
they're
Good
thank
for you.
thank
Like,
God the board is smart because I mean I'm not some days, so
I mean,
they're
I'm just like
great.
I feel intimidated now. I'm like, oh
Oh
hot
hell
damn.
no,
Like, oh it's like, whew, okay. Okay.
not at
So
all.
do you travel like all over Canada doing that? Like so
Yeah,
I'm kind of not I had no idea. So do you go and like talk to like businesses, governments, like what kind of
Yeah, lots of interaction with the businesses, do a lot of, like, visits to sort of see, what might be going on in their day-to-day, like, any issues that they might be seeing, any regulations that are kind of impeding their business, just so I can kinda get a boots on the ground idea of what goes on for them, to get a better of idea of to what I can relate to the government and to the public service agents that we kind of have to work with to say, like, listen, these regulations have to change and this administrative way needs to change. We do a lot of work with the government, House of Commons. I went with our president to the Senate this fall because we were speaking on Bill C-21 that unfortunately got passed. So lots of traveling for trade shows also, which is super fun.
I was gonna say, because you are coming to the Sportsman Show, right?
I am. I'm going to be there Friday.
Friday, just for one day?
Yeah, I'm not gonna do a booth, since we're an industry group and that's kind of like, I guess most of our members are gonna be, like, having booths there, so I'll just be
Okay.
walking around seeing them instead of me, like, having a booth, having to go to our members anyways.
So you're driving all the way from Cornwall for one day?
I am.
Good for you. Good for
Thanks.
you.
It's gonna be
Like,
great.
I was gonna say, because for Cornwall to Toronto, that's what, 5?
Yeah,
Gotta
I
be at
think it's about
least 5.
4.5, 5 hours, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Quite a few
Okay.
trips to Cornwall through or not Cornwall, Toronto through the year.
Okay, so with obviously you're big into guns and stuff like that then, so what are you shooting for, like, your turkey, your waterfowl? I'm assuming, like, you have different guns for different species.
Yeah,
Or are you, like, one gun and, like, that's all you use?
well, for the turkey and waters, I actually used to use, a Daria MK12
Okay.
for turkey, but that got prohibited with the May 2020 prohibition.
Yep.
So now I use a Winchester SXP, just a 12 gauge pump action. I actually really like that for waterfowl also.
Yep.
So I use that for turkey and waterfowl. I just switch the chokes out. I've got a Carlson turkey choke for my turkey, and then a Pattern Master black cloud or blackout. I'm going to get the name wrong for waterfowl. And then for deer, I'll use the crossbow or my Traditions muzzleloader.
Okay.
And yeah, I think that's kind of it. I do have if I'm doing like partridge or something like that, I'll just kind of grab whatever gun I have. Like I've got a few fun little side by side double barrels and stuff.
Yeah.
I just
Oh,
walk out and
those
yeah,
are fun.
they
I'm
are.
impressed. So, like, I mean, my shoulder's also broken. I have a torn rotator cuff, so I have to shoot a 20 gauge. Otherwise, I'm going to be blown into the next century. Um, but that's awesome that you can actually shoot a 12 gauge like comfortably. Like, but I
I
know,
have to cut the stock down
yeah, I was gonna
because
say,
I'm
so
like 5 foot nothing.
I know there's some talks with me and a certain people, gun manufacturer, that it's doing some like guns geared to women, and I'm going to be trying them out. Um, I'm I'm guessing I probably remember, but my memory's like a gnat. I don't remember what I had for breakfast this morning.
It's been a long day.
Oh, it's been a day. It's been a day, I'll tell you that. Like it's shorter barrel or 20 gauge, or I think the one is actually a shorter barrel and 12 gauge, but I don't know if that's gonna help my shoulder much. But again, so these are gonna be guns I'm gonna be shooting and trying
That's
out just for
awesome.
from a woman's standpoint, to see because there are like I'm tall, I'm 5'7", but I'm 120 pounds soaking wet
Okay.
with a torn rotator cuff on my shooting shoulder.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, well, like I'm even like there's sometimes I'm like hesitant to shoot like a rifle because I'm like, this kickback is going to just like tear me apart. So I mean, it's good for like I wish I could shoot a 12 gauge when I first started hunting before I got into my car accident. I was shooting a 12 gauge and then that all happened and obviously you have to make adjustments.
Exactly.
Thank goodness there is options out there to make adjustments and these manufacturers are coming out with like and I mean it's not
Yeah.
it's even nice for like again, because I'm Canadian Women of the Outdoors, and my eldest, she's 10, she's waiting, counting down until she can get her hunting license so
Love
she
it.
can start shooting. So I'm like, okay, I would probably put you in something like a 410 or a 20 gauge that's like small and like a
You
shorter
don't wanna
barrel. Like,
scare her to start
no. And I
or make
mean,
her feel comfortable, like, if she can't handle the gun, like, 'cause it's too long or big or
well, and that's
bulky.
like the first gun I ever shot was a massive. So my buddy let me borrow his gun for a hunt because I was gun sharing at the time for a goose hunt. It was the first hunt I'd ever been on. This dude is like 6'7". He has a barrel that is longer than my kitchen table and it's a 12 gauge.
Jesus.
I thought I was going to get blown off my feet when I took that shot. And I was like, okay.
And to shoulder that, like,
Well, and I'm
holy.
like I'm tall, like I have long appendages and arms, but I'm like, okay, this is gonna break me. Like, and I took the shot, and I was like, like I almost went, I almost got knocked off my feet. So it's nice that these gun companies are coming out with guns geared towards like more smaller females, like, and again,
Yep.
because they have youth guns, but you could again have a youth, you could have like kids nowadays, you could have a 12, 13, 14-year-old male that's almost as tall as you,
Oh,
if not
absolutely.
taller. Like, and
And yeah,
I see it in hockey all the time. Like, I coach U8, and some of these kids that we've played against, I'm like, you're as tall as me. Like, are you sure you're U8? Like,
like
who's
an
feeding you
ID.
Wheaties? I'm
Yeah,
like, who's feeding you Wheaties? Tell them to knock it off.
exactly.
You're too damn big for your age, kid.
It's
And I'm like,
wild.
I don't remember kids like when I was that young. I'm like, I don't remember kids being that tall.
Nah,
And I'm like,
absolutely.
I don't know what's in the water. Like, it's going
Something.
crazy. So it's nice to see.
It is, yeah. Like, I've picked
And
up a few smaller 20 gauges, and I do love how they feel. Like, they are really comfortable. I mean, I'm comfortable with my guns that I have, but also, yeah, I'd love to get a 20 gauge to add to my collection for sure.
well, and I mean, yeah, it's just nice, 'cause especially for things like waterfowl when you're shooting multiple loads.
Constantly. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, again, like I've shot a 12 for waterfowl, and the next day my shoulder is just bruised from like here to here. It's different when you're shooting turkey or deer where it's like one shot.
Yeah, for sure. But if it's, like, early season too and you don't have a lot of layers on, like, that gets
Oh,
rough.
oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. Um, so what do you got on the agenda for the rest of the year for the CS AAA?
CS AAA,
Are
we're
you gonna be
planning.
traveling lots, going to different trade shows and stuff?
So, thankfully, there's not a whole lot going on politics-wise. There's no, like, scary bills sitting in the House of Commons that we need to necessarily meet on.
So, do you actually go to like Ottawa and go in there? Like you do that?
A lot of it's been Zoom since
Oh, okay.
COVID, but, yeah, I was in there this summer with, like, there was a few other, gun groups there, and
Oh wow.
it was fun. It was pretty interesting to kind of be down there in Parliament. It was very interesting to see.
Yeah. So sorry I cut you off there, but I
No,
wanted, before I lost that question, I wanted to ask it.
no, that's totally cool.
So
Uh,
plans for the rest of the year for CS AAA. Now that I've got the hang
a
of it.
lot of things happen last minute in the gun world. For CS AAA, we've got an event coming up in May. It's business to business range day. So basically, a lot of dealers and manufacturers are going to go there. It's at a range. They're going to set up on the range in Edmonton, the Chaz range, displaying any kinds of new guns, optics, ammunition that they might have. And basically, the idea of this trade show is for retailers to come in and do business, do orders, see what kind of stock they might want to keep in their stores. And then after that, we're going to have a banquet where we're awarding three industry legends, which is an award program that's for individuals that have kind of made a huge impact on the industry. They're retired, they've done a lot of volunteering, done a lot of political advocacy. So yeah, we're gonna have the banquet for the awards then, and then in the wintertime, I should have a bunch of trade shows kind of all
Yeah.
around Alberta slash Ontario.
Hmm. And so it is actually like it's not just like a volunteer based like company. It is like an actual paid.
Yeah, so, like, I'm actually their only paid employee at the
Oh,
time,
okay.
or now I should say, and all the rest is volunteer run, so, the people that
S-
are volunteering on the board also own, like, gun stores, and they're running their own businesses, so,
So if people wanted to get involved with it, how would they go about doing such a thing? Like for people that are
um,
very passionate about like this kind of stuff, like how would they go and
yeah.
be how would they go about being involved? My god, words are hard.
No, I know, it's okay. It's late, it's been a long day.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, if they wanna send us an email, we're always looking for volunteers to sort of help out at these sort of trade shows or events. So if you just reach out, can kind of put you on our volunteer log, and that way, if we're ever in your area, we can sort of give you a ring and say, "Hey, we've got this show/event coming up if you wanna volunteer. Here are the details."
yeah, all the fun stuff.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
come out, talk guns, like talk about
For
the
sure.
yeah.
Since it's mostly like an industry organization specifically, most of our volunteer work slash, like, membership base and sponsorship comes from, like, the stores and the brands and everything.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
okay. Well, now that we talked about that, so for those that don't know, I have pre-recorded this episode. This episode is actually airing April. I don't have a calendar in front of me. I think it's April 1st. But I have 3 kids that we get every other week and a crazy busy life. So I pre-record a lot of episodes. So now that we all know this episode is going to be aired at the beginning of April, we're going to start talking turkey because it sounds like you love turkey hunting just as much as I do.
I love turkey hunting.
Is
Um, I think I told you that turkey hunting was, like, one of my favorite hunts, and
It's mine too.
every time turkey hunting rolls around, I'm like, "No, it is absolutely my favorite." Like,
It is.
hearing the gobble, hearing them thunder down,
Yep.
the scouting the night before, oh my god, it's just like there's so much.
I can't talk enough about turkey.
Yeah.
So because it's April 1st or whatever, when is this? Hold on, I'm gonna check my phone for when
Yeah.
this episode is gonna be airing. It will be airing April 1st. So
April
25
Fool's Day.
yeah, April 1st, this episode is airing, and then that's 25 days till turkey season. So if you're listening to that, listening to this episode, you have 25 days till turkey season. So we're gonna start talking turkey. All right, talking turkey. What do you are you in a blind? Are you on a vest and like covering yourself up? Like what's
I do it all.
I guess it
I
depends on your birds, eh?
It
Like
does, it depends on the birds, it depends on kind of how I'm feeling that day. I am very lucky in the sense that I can kind of work from my blind sometimes. I'll take, like, my iPad out since I can have data off of there, and I'll be doing emails or, doing up whatever I need to do. So on those days that I'm like, "I really wanna go turkey hunting, but I really wanna finish this thing for work," I'll be in a blind. Spot and stock's really fun too.
yeah.
Um, I've had some success spot and stock. Uh, but yeah, I'll often kind of set up in a blind, try and call them in, go to an area where I know that they'll often visit. I mean, I had a flock that it just seemed like clockwork. 3 p.m. every afternoon, they were like in that field, in that exact spot. They become so habitual.
Oh yeah. And I mean I feel that like with our property too. Like there's certain times I'm like, okay. So
They're going to
I
be
totally
here.
get Yep. Um pot call, box call, mouth call.
I like the diaphragm call.
Oh, can't.
I know some people
I
can't do
can't.
it.
I can't even brush my teeth without choking. So I'm just like, I brush my teeth.
Sometimes
I'm like, and
get
I'm like,
me.
I
Oh,
can't get a mouth call in there. It's terrible.
I just I do love the box call, but I like the mouth call because it's, like, minimal movement, and I can
Yeah,
kinda control, like, if I do need to practice a little bit more. I got really good last season and then didn't practice at all. Tried it when I was driving the other day, and I was like, "Oh, I need to, like, brush up on my clucks."
yeah.
But yeah, just, like, 'cause it's minimal movement and I can get a really good sound, I find, like, something really loud.
Oh, I can't. I sounds like a dying rooster when I try because I'm choking and then there's like weird sounds and I'm like, oh no, we're just gonna stick with the pot calls. That's I can't. I can't. It's
They're
so
great too.
bad. And I've even tried like a youth call. Like I just think I have such a horrible gag reflex
Just
that I just
having it
can't.
there.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
I've
Um.
definitely heard a few people say that. They're like, "Yeah, I just not gonna happen."
Oh, it's not happening. Okay, so your setup. What decoys are you using? I've heard some people switch decoys like throughout the season, or other people like kind of just go with one thing throughout the season. Like, what do you got going on? Like, what are you throwing out there?
So since I mean, I've been hunting for, I don't know, however long it's been since college, like 10 years maybe, but it's not long, so I'm still learning. So I like to switch it up just to sort of see what works best. I've had the most success with just a tom
Oh
out
yeah,
there, mostly early season when they're like pretty aggressive. Uh, I really like setting up a tom if there's like an open field and I'm kind of in a blind in a bush area, because if they're on the other end of the property and they see that tom, they might get interested and kind of wander on over.
yeah,
I've used only hens and I've surprisingly never had success with that.
yeah,
I do have a jake that I'll throw out every once in a while. Haven't really had success with that one yet, actually. Yeah, just the tom's been good for me.
yeah. Just throw it a tom, and people are like, or the turkeys are gonna be like, I'm gonna come beat this up.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And so when you harvest, are you someone that lets jakes go, or do you take a jake?
I'll take a jake.
Yeah?
Yeah, the last one that I took was a jake, like a bigger jake. I actually didn't think he was a jake until I like fanned him out and I saw the little peak in his fan and I was like, oh, sorry, man.
Uh,
But yeah, I'll take a jake.
yeah, you don't discriminate?
I don't discriminate. No, Tom,
As long
Jake.
as long as it's legal, it's coming in front of you. Okay. And favorite recipe to do with turkey?
I am loving that turkey meatball soup.
The
So
one yeah, sent
yeah,
me. So for this turkey meatball soup, it will be posted after this episode airs. So she can explain it. And then I have the recipe that I will post a day or two after this episode airs. So
sweet.
don't y'all worry about that.
So let me think. It is, I'll do turkey meatballs, kind of Italian seasoning, lots of garlic, lots of parmesan. I'll usually brown those in the cast iron and then finish them in the oven. And then I'll do the soup with chicken broth, cream, a little bit of tomato paste. I like to use fresh herbs in there because I find they give a better taste.
So
Um,
instead of like Italian meatball soup, it's like
I guess
turkey.
so. Yeah, it's like a creamy turkey meatball soup with
Ooh,
parmesan. Yeah, it's great.
yeah,
Nice
that's
hearty.
exciting.
I'll use rice and barley in there as well, just to give it some
Yeah.
more substance.
Oh, I'm excited to try it because I saw that and I was like, ooh, I kind of want that.
Mhm.
That looks really good. I'm gonna have to make that happen this year. Um, and before we're getting close to the hour mark, so I'm gonna try and keep it in the hour, but I've got a few more questions for you. Because again, you cook like I do. I've seen your Facebook, um, or Instagram, sorry, social media. So I've seen your social media. That's
Yeah,
how I should just call it. I've seen your
your
social
socials.
media. You cook exactly like I do, like with your harvesting everything and you're using everything. Overall, from all the animals, fish that you harvest, what is your favorite thing to cook
I
out of
think venison.
everything?
Out of everything, it would have to be venison.
And what type of venison and what recipe are you using?
Ooh, I do everything with venison. Like I'll use venison for whatever I use beef in.
Okay.
But honestly, my favorite thing to do is just plain venison steak in the cast iron pan.
Yeah. Do you, like, baste
That's
it with, like, the garlic and the
I
rosemary and
will
everything? Yeah.
absolutely. So not usually rosemary. I'll do garlic for sure. A lot of it's gonna be like red wine or soy sauce, Worcestershire.
So have you ever been to culinary school or no?
No, not at all. I just like food.
When are you going back? Like for the sportsman show, when are you going back? Do you have to go back Friday night or can you stay till Saturday? Because I want to introduce you to some gentlemen that I know that would probably love to have you on their podcast.
I can definitely stay till Saturday.
I think you should stay till Saturday night because boys, Tone Smash Maleka, Louise Top Dog Pereira, Daniel Hooksett Martin, if you're listening to this, this is a gal you need to have on your podcast. You've already had me, and you need to have this gal, and I'm tagging you all in it, and you guys need to do this. You need to have this Miss Jenn on your podcast, and I hope I can make this happen. So you three
I
better be listening, and Jenn, you need to stay till Saturday and come with me and meet these gentlemen that run Eating Wild podcast.
I was gonna
And
say, I
it's
think I just discovered that lovely group.
so they are amazing humans. I did a podcast episode with them, Eating Wild podcast. If you
Awesome.
guys want to check them out. But if you want to stay till Saturday, I need to introduce you to these
Yeah.
gentlemen because they are amazing humans. I think I'm recording a live podcast. And
Oh,
this is
awesome.
weird because this is going to be shown after the sportsman show. So this has already happened. Um,
We're
but
talking about
well,
the past.
yeah, at this point, we're talking about the past, but again, they are boys that utilize food like we do,
Love it.
field to table, lake to table, all that kind of stuff. So, and we are both like that. Like you have so for those who don't know, also, Jenn has a website where she has all her food. What is the website again? Sorry.
Whywehunt.ca.
Okay. And you have
Yeah.
all your recipes and stuff on there?
I am slowly loading all of my recipes onto there. Yeah, trying to get
Yeah.
kind of everything on there. A lot of foraging recipes as well, just so people kind of know what they can do with the things that are around them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like, so you also forage as well. I know this is kind of you don't just hunt and fish, you forage, right?
Mhm. Turkey
So
season's fun to forage because there's so much new stuff coming up.
leeks, you should
Yes,
see the leeks on the property.
that's amazing. There's
Yeah,
so much
it's
good stuff you can do with wild leek.
pesto. I do like a wild leek and mushroom pasta or wild leek and mushroom risotto
That would be
and
so good.
yeah, it's crazy. Okay. Anyway, last question for you because we are approaching over the hour mark and I do want to kind of keep it. It might have gone over an hour, but you know what? Y'all are here, so stop it.
Yeah.
Um, for a young lady or a woman getting into the outdoors, what is your piece of advice for them? Like whether it's from a cooking standpoint, like if they're harvesting their first animal and they don't know what to do with it, or actually we'll do both. What's your piece of advice for somebody that wants to get into the outdoors to harvest an animal? And once they harvest an animal, what's your piece of advice for them to be able to utilize said animal?
All right.
Or amphibian fish, whatever they call it.
Um, so the actual hunting part, oh my gosh, stay warm and bring snacks because there's nothing worse than being uncomfortable while you're out there hunting. And bring a good book or something so you don't get bored and you're not
Yeah.
relying on your screen. And processing the actual animal, don't be scared to marinate it. Let it
Oh,
sit in like a saltwater bath. If you're going to be, doing a deer steak, or I'll do smoked goose. I've tried doing smoked goose breast without marinating. Awful. Marinated for 24 hours, the best thing you'll eat. Like,
yeah.
so marinating goes a long way.
Yep. Oh, and I completely agree with that. Like marinating is key, especially I do find for wild game, marinating is
Yeah,
key. And like I
absolutely.
find also like especially with goose, a low and slow cook.
Yes, for sure. It's
Like
such a
that's
lean
definitely
meat. Like it's delicious, and so many people are like, "Oh my god, you eat goose." Like I just do it in pepperettes. Like I won't do anything else with goose, but it's really good if you cook it properly.
well, and that's exactly you can do so much. Like I've done goose enchiladas, goose pasta, like I've done and a goose is the one thing I think people don't realize how good it actually is if it's done
Mhm.
properly. It's done
Yeah.
properly. Now, and is there like, do you ever like, you said you give it a salt bath and yeah, and take all that bloody.
Yeah,
gaminess. Yeah.
exactly, just let that kind of seep out.
Yeah.
I'll change the water a few times through the day, like, thankfully, since I do work from home, I can kind of dump the water out through the day, replenish it, and I'll just do that for, like, 24 hours before I vacuum seal it or process it.
And because we were talking turkey a bit, do you use like every bit of the turkey? Like, do you do the legs and everything like that, or do you just harvest the breast?
Definitely.
Yeah,
No,
you
I
do.
would feel so guilty just taking the breast. I mean, to each their own 1000%. I know that the legs can be super hard to harvest, but or not harvest, but cook. Um, but
See,
again, low and slow.
I even usually take the giblets from like every animal and just feed them to my dogs.
That's a good one. Yeah, honestly, my cat will
I
eat
will,
the, goose liver. It's hilarious.
I fry them up and feed them to my dogs, or just give it to them as a snack,
And
and
it's
they
such a
will.
good protein source for them.
Well, it's not, yeah, it's not gonna hurt them. Like,
No.
cool. You get a rabbit liver or, like, a goose liver or something like that, goose giblets, you fry them up with a little bit of butter and some dog-friendly seasoning, and, like, my husky, so I have a random combination of dogs. I have a husky and a hound. Like, they
2
my hu
high energy dogs.
my husky, she knows when I'm cleaning game. She's, like, right in there. She's like, "I smell this. This is what I wanna eat."
Oh, yeah.
And I will usually give her, like, the giblets and stuff like that, like the livers, lungs,
Yeah.
and she will eat it like it's nothing. Like, that's a treat for her.
Oh, yeah,
So
they love it.
and I mean, there's nothing like, if you're gonna harvest an animal, like, yes, we all don't eat livers and lungs, but if you have dogs, use it.
They'll eat it, yeah.
Yeah, fry it up, dehydrate it. You can even dehydrate them
Yeah,
and make it little treats for them. Like, dogs will
exactly.
eat that.
They
Dog
sell
and
dehydrated liver treats.
Well, and that's exactly it. They will eat that and they will love it, and it will not hurt them in any way, shape, or form. It's so good for them.
Yep.
So again, if people are wondering like, oh, I don't want, like, I want to hunt, but like I want to make sure I harvest everything, you can. You can literally harvest everything. Feet,
The
lungs, liver,
fur, the
heart.
feathers,
Yeah.
like, there's just everything to you could use everything.
Yeah. It's not just
The
a
fat.
one and done. Like, you don't need, you just need the breasts or whatever and just be done with it. Like, and
Yeah,
again, I love feeding my dogs that stuff because they love it and it's so good for them.
it is, yeah.
Like, but any
Nice,
hooters.
natural,
Um,
healthy.
right. So we're gonna wrap it up now. I'm sure I will probably have you on again after turkey season to talk about your adventures there. Actually, I know I probably will because there's other subjects we haven't touched on yet that I want to touch on.
Exciting.
Um, so Jen, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I truly, truly appreciate it. I know I probably rambled a bit, and we did go over our time, but it is what it is. It was a great conversation, and I'm not mad at it at all.
Yeah, I had a great time. So happy to do this.
So I'm glad, like, you weren't weirded out when I randomly texted you. So funny story, actually. She gave me the wrong number, and I
I
texted
did.
somebody. I texted some random person this whole spiel about how, like, I wanted to do this, this, and this, and this, and it's at like 6 in the morning. This poor soul, and then they were like, "You have the wrong number," and I was like, "Oh shit!" And I Instagrammed back. And I was like, so is this the right number? And she's like, oh shit, no.
Nope.
You This poor soul, I sent him like him or her, like a 4-inch message about
Oh my
what my
god.
and then I'm like, I think I text you after. I was like, is this the right number?
Yes.
Like,
They were probably like,
I
"I don't know, this is not for me."
I literally sent like a 4-inch message about like the plan and stuff like that.
Oh
And then I
no.
just get back and it was like 6:30 in the morning. And I get back, sorry, you have the wrong number. And I'm like, oh shit.
They're like, "It's too early for this shit."
And I'm like, I'm talking about like dead things and stuff like that. Like, I'm like, did I text a vegan? So whoever that was, if you're out there listening to that, I apologize. It's Jen's fault. She gave
I'm
me the wrong
sorry.
number.
It is my
she
fault.
she gave me the wrong number.
You can
But
yell at me,
whoever it is,
whoever you are.
it's probably somebody in your area. But oh, it was so
Maybe.
funny. I was literally I was trying not to like be mortified, but at the same time trying not to laugh super hard about it. I'm like,
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
course this would happen to me after I've
Yeah.
gone on a spiel and a tangent about what I want to do, and then all of a sudden, like, for all I know, these people are vegans or a child. Like, I could be texting a
Oh my
15-year-old, and I'm
god.
like, oh my god. Like, what? I feel so bad.
Yeah, for sure. It's totally my fault.
Oh, but you know what? We ended up connecting. We made it working. Tara, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Tara.
Even though you said we knew each other, which we've never met before in our
I
life.
don't know.
No, I don't think so.
I was
But we
thinking, I'm
will.
like, I got to know those girls really well because, like, as you do with those girls, and I was like, I do not remember.
But as I guess past tense, we will have met at this point at the
Yes,
Sportsman Show. When this episode airs, we will have met at the Sportsman Show. So weird.
absolutely.
It's weird to kind of do it like that, but you
Time
guys don't
travel.
need to follow along. Anyway, time travel. Okay, easy there, Back to the Future. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Canadian Women of the Outdoors. Um, Again, I don't know who I'm gonna have on 2 weeks from now. I need to figure that out. But you guys get ready for turkey season. It's coming. So is trout for those that fish instead of hunt. Trout openers coming up. I may do an episode like that. I haven't decided yet. But anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. Again, like, subscribe, comment, give me reviews if there's anything you want to hear about, talk about, or if you know somebody that wants to come on, shoot me a message. As always, too, my guests, if you ever have any questions for them, they are available. Jen, what's your Instagram again?
My Instagram is JennDVC, and I'm always more than happy to, yeah, answer any questions or whatever.
So again, yeah, if you want to reach out to Jen, have questions for her, if you just want to just talk to her because she's a pretty
Yeah,
cool gal, like have at her. I'm sure she won't care.
I don't care.
Exactly, yeah. So thank you guys so much for listening, and yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks so much.